Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. Welcome to Let's Talk Cyber Diplomacy with its team, Securing Malaysia's Virtual Borders. This program is a series of dialogues centered around foreign policy and international affairs. This particular session will focus on one of the priority areas set out in Malaysia's latest foreign policy framework in a post-pandemic world, that is on cybersecurity. Over the past few years, Malaysia has dealt with various issues related to cybersecurity. In 2020, in fact, fraud was ranked number 1 with 70% cases reported in Malaysia. I believe that the most obvious cybersecurity issues that we have is on Macau scam. We have heard about reports of individuals losing hundreds, not hundreds, thousands of ringgits involving such scam. But fraud is unfortunately not the only cybersecurity threats that Malaysia is currently facing. So we are facing in such like intrusion, harassment, hacking, and so forth. So we are using this platform as a way to discuss further on these cybersecurity threats and how diplomacy can play its role on this matter. Therefore, to gain reliable on today's topic, we have 3 esteemed speakers with vast background on security matters. Please welcome. First off, we have Colonel Sazali Sukardi, Senior Vice President of Strategic Research, Cybersecurity Malaysia. Welcome.
Thank you.
Prior to joining Cybersecurity Malaysia, he had served Malaysia Armed Forces for 22 years before retiring in 2019. Currently, he is the commander of 502 Regiment of Territorial Army. He graduated from London with Master of Science in Information Security and Master of Arts in Defence Studies. Colonel Sazali has been actively involved in various global and local collaborative programs. He is the subject matter expert for the Society for the Policing of Cyberspace in combating global cybercrimes initiatives. Thank you for joining us today, Colonel. Next, we have Ms. Sharifah Rashida Said Osman, Senior Principal Assistant Director in National Cybersecurity Agency, NACSA. She started her career in 2004, and with over 18 years of experience in NACSA, Ms. Sharifah has been actively involved in formulating, coordinating, and monitoring the national cybersecurity policies development and implementations. Ms. Sharifah graduated from Royal Holloway, University of London, with a Master of Science in Information Security. Welcome and thank you for joining us today, Ms. Sharifah. Thank you. And finally, we have Mr. Tajul Azhar Muhammad Tajul Arifin, Research Officer in Cybersecurity, Faculty of Information Science and Technology, University Kebangsaan Malaysia. Mr. Tajul has more than 18 years of server administrative and deployment experience during the Malaysia Smart School project in 2003 to digital transformation to cloud technology in 2020. He won Cybersecurity Award in 2017 and co-founded Cyber Range Academy in Mersing Polytechnic. He was featured in various new outlets, giving his thoughts and ideas to strengthen the security awareness on digital media. Currently, he is a researcher pursuing his PhD in Cybersecurity at University Kebangsaan Malaysia. Thank you very much to all panelists for joining us on this session today. And moderating for today's topic, I am Yazmalina Yaakob. In light of the growing emphasis on the digital economy, the cyberspace is an increasing national interest priority for Malaysia and requires forward-looking measures. But before that, we must first understand the current situation that Malaysia is facing when it comes to cyber threats. So my first question is to Colonel Sazali. What is the landscape of cybersecurity in Malaysia today?
Thank you, Puan Yasmalina, for the questions. Distinguished panelists and participants. To respond to these questions, as we know, today digital technology is very dominant. It is the center of our life. And in fact, we are very much dependent on all aspects of our activities, be it social, business, so on and so forth. And we have seen also how digital technology drives our national prosperity and progressions. But at the same time, as we go high-tech and more advanced, so do cyber attack and criminals. Therefore, technology revolution not only changed the way we live, but also the way threats are evolving. Therefore, it also changed the way we perceive security and manage security. Because whenever technology changes, threat also changes. Criminal also change. And in fact, criminal, bad guys, state actors, state-sponsored actors, they benefit from the advancement of technology to enhance their knowledge and skill. And in fact, most of the time, all these actors will come up with various tools and techniques in committing cyber attack, replacing traditional methods. So in order to address, to cope with the rapidly changing threat environment, we have to adopt innovative cyber security solution. Otherwise, we will be left behind, and the same technology later on will be used by the criminal to go against us. So not only we must understand the technology first, so that we can benefit from the application, but more importantly, we must make sure it is secure. And to understand the landscape, because we talk about cyber, cyber has become the world by itself. That's why we call it cyber world. So when we talk about cyber security, it is security in cyberspace. So to understand the landscape, we have to understand the technology first. We have to have a situational awareness. And how from there, we look at the risks arising from the application of technology, and possibly from there also we can come up with suitable cyber security solution to address the issues. Because today we are facing new security challenges in the form of cyber attack, because it is the result of our application of technology. And today there are various trends of technologies, and these technologies are invented, are designed not for security. In the first place, our mobile phone, our cloud computing, it is designed for providing convenience. Security is not part of the design. So there are many threats or vulnerabilities that exist in these technologies and inherent to them. And technology moves very fast, and they become smarter today, and embedded with artificial intelligence. Today, it is technology that tells us what to do. For example, most of us maybe are using smartwatches. It is technology that read our blood pressure, our heart rate, our body sugar content, and it can remind us before we suffer from stroke, hypertension, diabetes, or heart attack. And at the same time, our world become more interconnected and become more complex. And today we are talking about technology convergence. And the risks that are inherent to technology still there, yet to be addressed. Just imagine all the various technologies are convergent and becoming one single entity. Today we are talking about blockchain, Industry 4.0. So what is the significance of fourth industrial revolution? So before we talk about this fourth industrial revolution, let us look at glance the previous industrial revolution. During the first industrial revolution, we can see the invention of machine to replace human labor in factory. Second industrial revolution, the invention of electricity to lower the production cost in factory. And during this era, we can see the expansion of factory because of lower production costs. And third industrial revolution, we saw the invention of computers, networks, microchips, and technology start to replace human brain. And we use computers to assist us in planning and decision making. But what is the significance of fourth industrial revolution? We are in the era now. It is the combination of all the previous industrial revolution. It is about cyber, physical connectivity, and it is also about connecting to our brain, because we have our artificial intelligence in our computers to tell us what to do. Today, if we are traveling, we use GPS to tell us where to go. So we have to listen, otherwise we cannot get to this location. And when I left Sanawang to Gambia, I have to use GPS because of the traffic jam, because it tells us what to do. And meaning that cyber world and physical world become more interconnected and more interdependent. Of course, it's good. It increases productivities. It increases efficiency. But because of this high interdependency, we are also vulnerable and exposed to cyber attack. As I mentioned, as we become more advanced, as we become more interconnected, we are very vulnerable. Because when we add more technologies, actually we create more attack surface. And when we get more connected, we create more attack vectors. So we are very exposed to cyber attack. And today, in the past, when we talk about security, it's always about confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. But today, in the fourth industrial revolution, cyber physical and brain connectivity, we extend the concept of security. Apart from confidentiality, integrity, and availability, it also includes safety. Why? Not only we live in physical world, but we depend, our life, our well-being depends on digital system in cyber world. Any virtual attack can cause physical consequences, and in fact can inflict casualties. Just imagine cyber attack on hospital, because any disruption in medical system can kill the patients, because the patient rely on that medical system to support their life and to survive. And also just imagine cyber attack on aircraft system. Any disruption on navigation, air traffic control system or communication system can cause the aircraft to crash and kill the passengers. So the attack is virtual. So these are the trend. And technology becomes smarter. Becomes smarter. Now we have fintech, we're talking about cryptocurrency, blockchain, so on and so forth. So these are the trend, and it changes very fast. The change is exponential. What we have today, we change tomorrow, and there is no indication that technology will changes will slow down. And I cannot expect what is going to happen in the future. But these are the trend. Technology becomes smarter, and the way we approach to cybersecurity also becomes smarter. Today, cyber attack happen in the speed of machine. It is computer that study the weaknesses of our system. They find the weaknesses, they exploit the vulnerabilities to the extent they can hijack and take control of the computer. Everything is done by computers, by the technology. So our approach, we have to be innovative, and we also have to be equally evolutionary in addressing those cybersecurity issues. And of course, in the past, when we talk about sovereignty, government, we can exercise sovereignty in our country, in our territory, because we can define the territory. But today, how can we exercise sovereignty in cyberspace? It is a new world. We have our laws to protect our national security interests, but how our laws protect our human rights, our security interests in cyberspace, because conflict, war, crime are no longer confined within traditional boundaries. They have extended to cyberspace. And even drug trafficking, human trafficking, all the traditional crime, they have been facilitated by internet and computers to go cross-border. And our laws cannot be applied outside our borders. So there are many cross-border jurisdictional, technical, or even evidential issues when dealing with cyber attack. What more if cyber attack committed by foreign militaries, foreign government, based on their doctrine, strategies, and it is even more complex to deal with. So cybersecurity is not technical issues, it is more than that. War have gone to cyberspace, now we are talking about cyber war. Terrorism also has gone to cyberspace, we are talking about cyber terrorism. Even diplomacy is new area, you should go also to cyberspace, and we talk about cyber diplomacy in how to address cyber security issues in cyberspace. That's my take. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Sazali. So now that we have already understand how the current landscape on cyber diplomacy affects, I would actually like to know more about how diplomacy can play its role when it comes to cybersecurity. So my next question will be direct to Ms. Sharifah. So in your own view, how can diplomacy play a role in securing Malaysia's virtual borders?
Thank you, Madam Moderator, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for inviting me. I will start by picking up from what Colonel Sazali mentioned, because I think it's very important with what he already mentioned just now. He already elaborated about the threat landscape. One of the things that he mentioned was situational awareness, the importance of us to have situational awareness, and also that all technologies today resides in cyber environment, because you need to use computers or any devices to access to your data, and data is the new oil today, and there are many more attack surface and attack vectors as technology evolved, new devices came in, and also the actors in cyber environment, starting from just script kiddies or school kids that would like to try, goes to the criminals as well as to the state actor. So that was what Colonel mentioned about the threat landscape and the technology evolvement that contribute to the issue of cybersecurity. But in terms of cyber diplomacy, coming from an agency, National Cybersecurity Agency, that looks into the issues of cybersecurity at national level, where we need to coordinate, monitor, as well as seize on it, what are the prominent issues that is essential to Malaysia. We need to look cybersecurity as a technical issue, as what Colonel Sazali mentioned, that goes to the fundamental and basic principle of cybersecurity, of the ensuring your applications, ensuring your data, ensuring your system and communications are available, are full of integrity as well as confidentiality. However, as a country, we also have an obligation to look cybersecurity at national level, to make sure that our digital economy, our visions in terms of making Malaysia a developed state by using technology, we need to make sure that our system, our development is embedded with security by design. If you listen from what Colonel Sazali mentioned, we knew that the internet, the cyber environment, the internet itself was not built with security in mind. Hence why security by design is being advocated by everyone. The security of supply chain, because we are not just one country by its own. Cybersecurity is about collaborative. It's about communicating with other agencies, and even our country on how we manage cybersecurity. We manage internet is multi-stakeholder model. When we use multi-stakeholder model, meaning that there are also not only government, there are private sectors, there are telcos, there are other entities that contribute to the development of our ICTs. That is important for us to have a multi-stakeholder engagement in terms of cybersecurity. Coming back to the issue of cyber diplomacy, Malaysia also have an obligation to ensure that we uphold our international peace and security. So with regards to the diplomacy part, as a state, we need to work together at regional, at international, to make sure that our obligations in terms of behaving, in terms of commitment for responsible states behavior are being demonstrated. How do we do that? At the UN level, United Nations level, in the first committee, International Peace and Security, there is already an agreed framework of responsible states behavior. Okay. It talks about how international law applies to cyberspace. It also talks about the 11 voluntary norms. it also talks about the importance of capacity building as well as confidence building measures. These are the elements that is not foreign to the diplomats, because looking into the legacy, the issues of confidence building measures has existed for so long. The issues of capacity building, the issues of international law, as well as the issues of norms. However, we already have an 11 agreed norm that a country need to commit. One of the norm, if I can give an example, is there should be an interstate cooperation. A state need to consider all the relevant information, as well as a state need to prevent the misuse of ICTs in our territories. A state also should report any ICT vulnerabilities. There are 11 of them. So as a country, we need to embed the commitment that we made at international level together with our commitment at national level. In order for our country to ensure our progress in terms of development successfully, we need to ensure that we can give a commitment to our investor, to all other people, saying that Malaysia has implemented a proper cybersecurity strategy that include regulations, that include the appropriate people, as well as processes and technology in ensuring cybersecurity. Coming back to the issues of diplomacy, I understand that our diplomats are the front face of Malaysia. You will go at international level to negotiate, to make sure that while we uphold the international peace and security, we also taking considerations of what is our national interest. Having said that, the understanding of how the current diplomacy and the understanding of how cybersecurity is and what cyber is would be very important for you to understand what are the elements that need to be picked up. Because talking about security, cybersecurity is a little bit tricky because even in the discussions of ICT, there are elements of security. Like what Colonel Sazali mentioned, the discussions of the IoT, the discussion of autonomous car, the element of cybersecurity would be everywhere. Because whether we like it or not, while we are advocating about the IR 4.0, everything will be interconnected. What else? What else can ensure the trust to the system, to the country, if we do not embed security in our technology? So I will end by that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sharifah, for the insights. And I also believe what Colonel has already mentioned, it does have an impact on cyber diplomacy in our context, in Malaysia's context. So now that we have understand further about the current landscape as well as diplomacy's role, we also have to bear in mind that there are threats everywhere. And now we have to focus on our country's threats. Recently, I read an article in year 2020, hacking. Just now I mentioned that fraud was ranked number 1, apparently hacking ranked number 2, with a 13% cases reported in Malaysia. So now let us hear from Mr. Tajul. What can you comment on the latest security breach or leak of information issue that Malaysia is currently facing?
Thank you, Ms. Azmarina, distinguished panel, audience and friends. So back to the question. Actually, it is a very controversial question, and also is a hot topics currently that we're having right now in Malaysia. But let's go back to the facts. I believe in numbers. We have some data that saying on the data breach itself. So let's go back to Singapore. So back in 2018 itself, 1.5 million data breach happened in Singapore. It is for 600,000 patients in Singapore. So what happened if the data breach? So let's go back to the emerging technology. We're talking about IoTs. Yes. You know, we're talking about robotics. Actually, it is an automation of doing things. So basically, in the year of we predicted specifically in 2025, the IoT is projected to a number of over 75 billion connected devices. So now everybody are sharing their data. So everybody are sharing their privacy. Basically, there is no privacy at all currently. Now, because people are actually exchanging their data on the social media. We never think of that scenario happens back then, maybe in early 1990s. Now people are sharing all data. That's happened now, not just in Malaysia. And again, let's go back to the numbers. In Malaysia itself, bahasa Melayu as our bahasa, has been used by internet users. I think it's ranked on the top 10 level, including Indonesia, Brunei. So Malaysia consists of most of the internet users in the world. So what happened is, when we go back to the hacking, you're talking about hacking stuff. It's very interesting. So people falls into doing the script kiddies. We're talking about script kiddies. So people are making the codes, the automation codes, to steal somebody's data. So what happened is, the data breach is very controversial. And also, when we go back to the film, Avengers Endgame. So what Thanos been saying, that I am inevitable, is unstoppable, because data breach happens every day. We know that our data is on the net because of our behavior of sharing data. So we always share our data, and there is no limitation. So that is why we come up with the policies, with the procedures, and I believe this idea of having what we call as a cyber diplomacy is towards what we call as a cybersecurity awareness, because 10% of protecting our infrastructure is on the technical side, but 90% is about end users. End users is about 90% contributing back to the internet landscape. So all the ransomware, the malware, even the Macau scam, it's happened to the end users. So the end user is the most vulnerable human. Maybe I can say is also becoming a devices of internet, because they are the one who makes the internet more interesting. Okay, let's go back to the scenario whereby the hacking stuff. A long time ago, hacking is just for the victory. So whenever they do the bad stuff on the internet, on the website, so it's a victory. So I've been hacked your website. Tajul is here, for example. But now from the victory, it's embarking to the money. So hackers now are looking to the commercial value. We have a bug bounty programs, and it's become a commercial. It's become something that happens to be making money. Now hackers are making money. Now what happened is, whenever the Macau scams, the data breach, actually is about data. So Cornel Cezali has mentioned about the three pillars. It's not a pillars, it's a triad. Confidentiality, CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So those triad is connected. So if we compromise one triad, one element of the triad, so we'll be gonna compromise all the information. So now we are talking about privacy. Privacy is about ourselves. So please, I need my own room because of my privacy. But when we're talking about data, it's about confidentiality. So data breach is about your confidentiality. So that is why we come up with the ideas. Yesterday we discussed on the PKISS, it's about cybersecurity awareness, because we want to give the awareness, because now cybersecurity is not related to the technical people, but it's about everybody. So let's go back to the pandemic, 2020. So that time, everybody they have parents. We must have this device on every of our children, because if you want to learn something, there is no more physical schools. So when we are using the internet, when we using the internet devices, so actually we are transforming ourselves to the internet. So what happened is, when we call it about incident threat. So incident threat that's related to something that it's not a hacking, but actually someone within our organization or maybe our colleagues, they have what you call as something that they want to share because the data is very confidential. Let's say I'm the VIPs. So one day I will become a prime minister. So what happened is someone need to know my information, my data. Where do I live? What car I use? So that kind of data, including our IC numbers, can be stolen and also can be sold to certain entity to do another business, what you call as a Macau scam. You know, all the LSDN calls, you know, the insurance. So that one is actually is about another attacks, what you call as a social engineering, from the hacking to the social engineering, because they are manipulating humans' behavior. So let's say I become an LSDN representative, so I will change from we have to gain your information. So I have to manipulate your social behavior. So I have manipulate your data towards the social engineering stuff so that you can share your data. Please, miss, can you share your credit cards? It's okay to share your credit card numbers, but what happens if you share your CVV numbers? So what happened is, so the Macau scam and also anyone in the world, they can use that kind of data to steal your money. So that is why from the hacking, from the script kiddies to the money, because they actually becomes a carrier. It's a good carrier. You can you can transform yourself to the government officer, to the hacker. But the problem is with the data breach. Sometimes there are people manipulating the data. When we talk about a deep web, it's another level of sharing data. So I believe cybersecurity Malaysia, they have some monitoring process and that's because we want to see, we want to find what is the activity under the sea, because the deep web is something that black. There is no one knows what happens on the deep web, because it's about giving yourself a chances to become anonymous. So you are nobodies. Now we are not talking about cryptocurrency yet, but in the deep web there is an activity, human trafficking, selling drugs, and it will be something that you cannot stop. Even the government body, they are actually trying to monitor that activity, but it's very hard to understand the process. But now the data actually now is selling on that kind of platform, a deep web, and that's the problem that we're having right now. Because when the data is still and has been sold by certain entities to another one entities, and the other entities are actually taking the opportunities to sell and also to do the money. So this is what we have to actually this is the role or responsibility by the cyber your role right now to explain to the people the awareness that we sometimes people are getting paranoid.
Okay.
I have a conversation with my boss back in 2008. During the end of the month, he will queue in the post laju to pay bills because the paranoid. Because maybe to you, online banking system is always exposed to the attacks. So the paranoid will become somebody, my boss, he pay all the bills on the post Malaysia. But now, actually, the thing is, the most important thing is to educate people. Sure. What you have to do. If the data breach happens, it's unstoppable, it's inevitable. But now what we have to do, we have to be very vigilant. Vigilant means we have to predict what will happen next, and we have to predict the next things happen will be very bad. So let's say if we want to share our data, we must understand that where the place that we want to share, what kind of devices, what type of Wi-Fi that we connected, because we do not know what happens inside the system. That's why we have to be very vigilant, and we have to understand. And to understand those kind of techy stuff is quite hard, but with the ecosystem, everybody are doing the ecosystem of telling everybody, explaining and giving awareness on cybersecurity, I do believe 100% we can actually educate people, because the cyber attack is not about numbers anymore.
Okay.
If one people are exposed to the breach, let's say on the Macau scam, we heard a few days back, a pensioner, she or he lost money, about I think 100,000 ringgit Malaysia. So whenever whatever one incident happens, it will destroy everything. So what we have to do now, number one, we have to be very vigilant, and at the same time we have to giving continuous awareness, cybersecurity awareness, cybersecurity session. Even we can make it towards gamification for students, so it will be more interesting. And I do believe, inshallah, by towards the ends of the session, we can see, if we do some research, we can find that all the Macau scams, all this will be reduced. We cannot say it will be 100% reduced, but inshallah the numbers will be decreased, and with the continuous support from Cybersecurity Malaysia, from NATSA, and everybody, even with this session, we can actually contribute back, not just to our country, but every part in the world. Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Tajul, for the insight. Yeah, I think after hearing what Mr. Tajul has to say, I think everyone has to be more aware and vigilant in what they post, especially on social media or any kind of platforms. So we will have a short break, a 5 minutes break, and we will come back shortly. Welcome back to Let's Talk Cyber Diplomacy with its theme, Securing Malaysia's Virtual Borders. So earlier just now, we have covered on some of the cybersecurity threats. So perhaps this time around, we can focus more on the regional as well as on the international role played for cybersecurity. So let's hear a comment from Colonel Sazali on how has Malaysia fared in terms of her collaborative efforts in cybersecurity at the regional and international level.
The important part of cybersecurity is collaboration.
Yes.
Because the nature of internet, the nature of cyber crimes, they are borderless, and no way we can work alone. And in fact, I have mentioned in my previous response, cyber attack pose various cross-border technical, evidential, and jurisdictional issues. And what incident happened outside the country, in the other part of the world, just a matter of time they come to Malaysia. So we need that kind of intelligence for us to prepare. And of course, we need to share information. We need to share all the various technical and non-technical resources. And apart from all these cybersecurity specific collaboration, is very important for us to establish mutual understanding. Of course, every nation, we have different national security interests, and our laws are to protect our national security. But as a region, as a global community, we have common regional and common interests, and we should work together to achieve these common interests, because we cannot force people to follow our laws or to follow what we do. And collaboration is for us to approach certain issue in soft manner. It is more on mutual understanding. And why collaboration is very important? Because the criminals themselves are collaborating. Because if in cyber we have underground criminal or black market, in cyber we have criminals, they are collaborating with each other in internet black market or internet underground economy, and they are operating in the dark web. They have proper business model, they have proper business structure, and where the hackers who have technical expertise and technical skill, they possibly they invent or create malware because they are technical minded, and they sell their service, cybercrime service, to traditional criminal organizations, for example. And these traditional criminal organizations, they are less technical minded. The X-Y, as mentioned by data breach, maybe hackers, they stole the data and they are selling this data in dark web. And this criminal organization will buy this data and use this data for criminal purposes. So they are collaborating. So if we want to fight this criminal, we also have to collaborate. So we can work in silo. Furthermore, as technology changes or our networks are changes, without we realize, we also change our digital ecosystem that create new digital supply chains. So that means we are no more work in isolations. So some of our services or some of our functions somehow or other may be dependent on certain critical chain or point from other partners. So we have to identify and we have to manage the various links and the various points within our digital supply chains. Just for example, Ukraine and in the Ukraine-Russian war. This war is nothing to do with us. But when Russia stopped exporting oil, for example, or stop exporting wheat, it will affect other countries as well. India stopped exporting wheat, for example. It affects other countries because the nature of our world are interconnected. We are not, we cannot work alone. So on cybersecurity, we want to establish this trust. We want to strengthen our network, and we involve in various collaborative platforms. For example, we are the chair of Asia Pacific Computer Emergency Response Team. We are the chair, and we are permanent secretary for OIC CERT, because we want to share everything. And then at the end of the day, we want to create confidence among the members so that we can trust each other when we are communicating, when we are collaborating and interacting in cyberspace. And maybe there are three aspects that I want to emphasize why we need collaborative effort. First, in terms of sovereignty. As I mentioned just now, in physical world, we can exercise our sovereignty in physical territory, but no way we can exercise e-sovereignty because the nature of cyberspace. So we need our collaborative partners, maybe industry, in terms of sharing our technical resources, sharing intelligence in order for us to prepare this to protect this whatever cybersecurity approach to protect our national sovereignty. Second one is intelligence or information. As mentioned, but that our data is disseminated everywhere. So how we protect our data, because especially when our law cannot protect our data outside the country, and so at the same time it is very important for us to protect the privacy of our people, and how we can prepare our people, how we can protect our people and privacy if their data outside the country we cannot protect. And in cyberspace, data is everywhere. And the third one is why we need collaboration is about digital economy. So our economy is very much dependent on other parties. So no way we can be prosperous or can be progress if our economy is not certain. So we need to invite investor, and investor need to be confident to come to Malaysia. So it is about collaborations and how we have the pull factor, not push factor, pull factor to attract the investor, because most of the technical service provider, they are industry, they are making business. Sometimes they like to come to Malaysia because to invest, it is money. But how we pull them to invest in Malaysia. So collaboration is very important for us to instill confidence to them. So Malaysia is stable, and we have to establish strong network, and we have to demonstrate leadership, so that we can be a role model. And there are many platforms at regional and global level where we demonstrate our leadership. For example, as I mentioned, apart from OIC and FPCERT, we also authorizing participants in common criteria, because we want all the technical solution and technology to be certified. And we have the authority to evaluate and certify technical solution and technology that can be used in regional and global community. And in digital forensic, Interpol, for example, they sought our assistance in helping Brazil to set up their digital forensic lab. So they asked us, because we got the expertise, to assist Interpol to set up digital forensic lab in Brazil. So this is how we collaborate by providing assistance to another country, and at the same time we also can ask assistance from other country, because the level of expertise, knowledge within the country is not the same. So we have to work together to complement each other. So in order for us to make sure that we protect the cyberspace as global common. Of course, we protect our critical national information infrastructure as our national asset to protect our sovereignty. But at the same time, we have to protect the global cyberspace as global common, because we share the same cyberspace to achieve our common interests.
Yes.
So if any war happen, it doesn't serve any good purpose to any country, because of our interdependency of digital system and digital infrastructure.
Yes. Totally agree with you, Colin. We have a lot to think about when it comes to regional cooperation, especially in the international level. So when coming back to, we have already understand on the regional cooperation, all the things related to cybersecurity at the international level. Perhaps we can tone down a bit on what is Malaysia is currently doing, what are the initiatives that we are doing. So let us hear also from Mr. Tajul on the current recent Malaysia cybersecurity strategies, or short MCSS. What is your take on the significance of the MCSS in combating against cyber threats? And how does, what do you think about the public's awareness on this MCSS?
First of all, thank you for the question. Actually, it falls under Pillar 4, which are enhancing capacity and capability building, awareness and education, like what we have today. Actually, I think yesterday we have a meetings on National Cybersecurity Awareness Master Plan 2022-2025, initiated by NACSA. It's a good initiative. Actually is covering all the ecosystem for the cybersecurity. And what we can do right now for the strategic initiative, actually we would like to enhance. We have all the programs, we have all the government sector responsibilities, we have all the plans, and we already executed the plan. We have successfully executed the plan, but actually we want to enhance the awareness among the end users or the society. And it must happen not just in Malaysia, in everywhere, anywhere in the world. So back to the question, what is the significance of those NCSP or now MCSS? Is actually, NCSP is established on 2006. But now during 2020 we are enhanced the national cybersecurity the national plan, the strategy initiative, because we want to get all together, not just the stakeholders, okay? Because we are sharing cyberspace, okay, one and for all and for one. But and the enhancing the cybersecurity awareness, must be happens in everywhere in the world. So maybe the significance of the point of the strategy is we should have a programs that very near to our hearts. Means if you want to target on the students, the program must be exist in schools. For example, we have that program, cyberspace, cybersafe by Cybersecurity Malaysia. But we want to enhance. Means maybe not just Cybersecurity Malaysia initiated the programs. There is small, maybe NGOs, or this program, we can organize another program for students to participate, and let them do the jobs, let them involve, let them play around with the cybersecurity stuff, or maybe related to the cybersecurity about data. So giving this opportunity of including involving everybody in the programs, actually we are nourishing the third initiative or strategy, which is a cybersecurity knowledge through education.
All right. Yes.
So the
Programs.
education must be happens not just in schools, but also in our institution, our organization. So the significant points of those awareness, of those policy, the procedures, the beautiful of the procedures, they actually aligning back to what we want to achieve, a secure cyberspace. That's the point. Okay.
With the given opportunity by Mr. Tajul to explain on the significance, I think we have to also hear from Ms. Sharifah herself on the significance of MCSS. Perhaps you can give your own point of view on this matter.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Tajul, for explaining. I think most of the part regarding the elements of awareness and educations, as well as the capacity and capability building. Yes, I think regardless, Malaysia's cybersecurity strategy is being led by NACSA, but we recognize that there are so many entities that have been doing a lot of cybersecurity initiatives, be it private agencies, be it academia, NGOs, and even other government entities. So what we actually do in MCSS is we collect the existing initiatives and we recognize that as a national level initiative. So whatever initiatives that has been progressing all this while, regardless it is a private sector initiative, just an academia initiative, or even coming from NGOs, we want to see the significant value that it brought and how big impact it can bring if we elevate that at national level. That is the spirits of MCSS. It's a whole of nation approach. We recognize there are multi-stakeholder. Coming back to the MCSS itself, it has 5 pillars. The first pillar is about the effective governance, because whether we like it or not, cybersecurity is no more a technical issue. Yes, it is a big contributor to the decision making, to the strategy, because we need to have, like what Colonel said earlier, situational awareness of what is our threat. In order for us to have that situational awareness, we need to have technical capabilities. Then only we know who is our threat actor, where is our threat, what is our biggest risk. These are the technical elements that is needed for our stakeholder to make an informed decision about what strategy should we take. If we have all the money in the world, we can protect everything. But cybersecurity is expensive.
Yeah, true.
So we need to know what is our crown jewel, what need to be protected. That is what we have heard all repeated by our cybersecurity expert anywhere about risk assessment and risk management. The moment when you know about your crown jewel, then you put a protection measure in every layer so that it will make it difficult for the attacker to do anything to our system, data and application. So that was the first one. The second one looks into the legislations. Because cyber environment is not a wild, wild west, it needs to have legislations. Because at technical level, in cyber environment, you can do a lot of things, but we need to be governed. That's why we have domestic legislation that need to be mirrored by our obligation, Malaysia, as a state, as a responsible state. What is our behavior to introduce an appropriate legislation? What is our behavior to make sure that our when we detect any attack coming from our territory, we are responsible to let another state knows that, look, we saw that something happened from our territory that is attacking your infrastructure. So that is another things that we need to do as well. The third one is about that has been explained by Mr. Tajul, is about R&D. You need to have knowledge. The fourth one is about capacity and capability, also has been explained by Mr. Tajul. And the fifth one, the most important one for this forum is about strengthening global cooperation. Because Malaysia can only demonstrate our obligation if we have the appropriate people, if our public are aware about what and how should they they secure themselves, what is the cyber safety. Our law enforcement agency has the capability to attack, not to attack, I'm so sorry. Our law enforcement agencies has the capability to detect and stop any crimes and combat any crimes. These are the things that is very important. So, as well as to have an international cooperation with states, not only states but also with security practitioners, security organizations, with the CERTs, with any other organizations that look into cyber safety and cyber environment and cyber protection.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sharifah. It occurs to me that just now when talking about MCSS, it is like a form of strategy that think tanks have already come up with the strategies to against in cybersecurity. I would really like to know more. What are your views on incorporating the elements of cyber diplomacy when it comes to policy making framework, Ms. Sharifah?
Can I clarify, when you say policy making framework, is it our domestic policy?
Yes, related to cybersecurity, our domestic policy.
Of course. Our MCSS, our Malaysia Cybersecurity Strategy, actually complements, meaning that we take what is happening at regional and international level and also complement that with our national interests. Because we need to understand what is our national interest. We know that cybersecurity is an economic issue, but ultimately, cybersecurity is a national security issue.
Right.
It's about protecting our sovereignty. It's about making sure that our country is able and resilient to any attack. So having said that, we take the problems that we are facing all this while, the problems of cybercrime, the problems of securing the application development, the problems of the inherent risks that we are facing. And this is not only foreign to Malaysia. All countries are having the same thing. And countries understand and already accepted. Collaborative effort needs to be done at global level for us to achieve global cyber stability. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sharifah. I believe that we still have a little bit more time. When it comes, perhaps we can also open to the floor one or two questions from the public. Perhaps, if yes, any of the public, please just introduce your name as well as to introduce to whom speaker would you like to speak to.
Thank you. My name is Jordan Irutianathan, and this question is I will pose this question to all the panelists here. Taking into account that we have actually detected scams and whatnot, other cyber threats, what kind of potential cybersecurity threats do you see in the future that we should actually take into account? Yes, please.
Thank you so much, Jordan. If I can reiterate the question just now, it is more, we would like to know more. In the future, what are the potential cybersecurity threats that perhaps not is currently happening right now? Open to any of the panelists. Would you like to give some insights? Colonel?
Maybe a bit.
Okay, sure.
Sometimes we are interested in weather. So how we know the weather tomorrow and maybe how we can predict. We have the expert to predict the same thing in threat. So it is not maybe exactly will happen, but we can predict. So data is oil. Data is money. And you know Mark Zuckerberg? He used to be the youngest, the fastest self-making billionaire. What he has been doing? He is the owner of Facebook. So he used our data to make money. And we give that data for free. And he used that data and share with his partner and make money. Because he monetized the money. The same thing data can be used to predict threats. So data is just a raw material. It depends on us, the user, how we want to process and get the output. So in this case, in cybersecurity, we have one technique called data analytics.
Data analytics.
So what we want to address, for example, economic, in this case is threats. We can collect all the relevant data in internet. That's why part of cybersecurity is we need to have expert in linguistics, because some of the threat in cyber is about content. And if we look at US, for example, part of their cyber security expert is linguistic expert, psychologists. And no matter how advanced the cyber attack, sometimes it happens very simple at the low level, targeting people through social engineering by exploiting our ignorance and negligence. This is psychological approach. How many people fall victim to scam? This is not much technical, it's psychology. So there are many areas that we can talk about how to predict. So we need information is the asset. How we want to do with the information? Of course, we apply data analytics, big data. So we process and come up with the modeling, come up with the profiling, then so on and so forth. So that's one subject by itself.
Yeah. When it comes to talking about making money using all these skills, when it comes to cyber threats, it's quite remarkable as Mr. Taja has already mentioned. People actually can make money using taking advantage of these skills when it comes to cyber threat. Thank you so much for the question.
If I may, just
please,
to
Ms.
add
Saifah.
from what Colonel mentioned and to respond to your questions, I think that in near future, as we're talking about the emerging technology, as I mentioned earlier, all technology, whether we like it or not, will resides in cyber environment. And we're talking about IoT. So we can control our CCTV from the office.
Yeah.
We can control our aircon. We can control our fridge. So anything that have network capability will need to be connected to the internet. And most of these things are vulnerable at its default states. Because hence why one of the most important things that needs to be done is to make the user aware. Not to save other people, save themselves. Like as simple as you're too lazy to update your phones and you don't put it automatic. By one day, if there are updates, critical security updates, and you ignore, there is a possibility your phone becoming another tools for another actor to attack another facility. That is a common thing. So one of the things that I saw, I think that we need to continuously face is by advocating user to demand and to learn about how to secure your Wi-Fi at home. How many of you change your Wi-Fi password? How many of you check the access, who access to your Wi-Fi? If you just put by default, I can just sit next to your house and hack it somebody can do that in not just even a minute. So there are a lot of informations in the internet that can be used by the attacker. You don't have to be an expert to do all these things. So not only the technology evolve, the informations in the internet can be accessed. My kids learns about how to do penetrations using YouTube, and he's only 14. And it's easy. I don't even teach him. So I think one of the important things is letting the user knows about how to protect themselves. And an excuse that cybersecurity, this is too technical, is not something that should be practiced anymore. And as parents, I have 3 kids at home. I'm very worried. I actually force myself to understand what game they are playing because sexual grooming happens there. You are worried about your kids. And when I give phones to my 16 years old daughter, I need to check her because it's important for them to understand. So as simple as asking your kids, do not talk to the stranger. And also when you want to cross the road, you need to look right, left and make sure there are no cars, then only you can cross. As a parent, you also need to educate yourself to teach the next generation on how to secure yourself for cyber safety. So more and more vulnerables we will see in the IoT devices. IoT is our phone, our aircons, anything that is not computer by design but being put, but now has the ability to connect to the network. So securing that, it will become a soft target where if you do not protect that with an appropriate security control, security baselining that need to be done, it will expose to the attack. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colonel Sazali, as well as Ms. Sharifah. We will open one more last question before we wrap up. Yes?
Assalamualaikum. My name is Elida. Okay, I only have one question posed to all of our panelists. Okay, as much as we are aware of cybersecurity threats such as ransomware attacks or data breach, I believe we are also threatened by misinformation in cyberspace. And we know that the deliberate spreading of fake news can cause fear-mongering, unnecessary fear-mongering, as well as manipulate public opinions on certain issues. In this regard, we would like to know what are the strategies in countering the unseen threats of misinformation in cyberspace. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Perhaps this time around I will allow Mr. Tajul for your explanation.
Thank you for the questions. I would like to add some of the points of the future attacks. Maybe you can study on NFT. It's about blockchain. So when it comes to the cryptocurrency, it's about having the money anonymously. So what happened after that? Ransomware attacks going wild. So that's what will happen. So what is NFT? And then non-fungible asset. Means last year, one person from Malaysia, Sina Estavi, he has bought one NFT. Actually, is a screenshot of the first tweet by the CEO of Twitter. Do you know what is the price? 2.9 million. So what is the next step after NFT? So you can answer the question. So going back to your question on the what can we mitigate with the misconfiguration or misinformation data? So we have a few law and step procedure in Malaysia as well, going everywhere in the world. There are a few conducts and configuration and policies, but if you go back to the fundamental of cybersecurity, the CIA, the triad, confidentiality, integrity, the number 2 triad. So we have to defend our data. So we have to reassure that this is a valid data of our data. If not, we can claim that this is wrong. So we have a few legislation process that we can actually go back to MCMC, for example, or the police department. So actually they have some regulation in that particular matter. So when we talk about viral, sometimes it will be something that we do not sure, because the social media, the Facebook, the Twitter is having something that going viral. This one will start to have some disease in the face. So we have to recheck those information, and we have to reassure, and we have to refer back, because I think we have one application in internet from MCMC. I forgot the names, the website. Maybe you can check. We can verify and validate the information regardless where it comes from, but it must be in Malaysia. So they are a repository, they are the database of knowing that this is the right information or wrong. So again, we have to be very vigilant, because security is not about we are reaching to the someplace. It's a journey. It's a journey towards the end. So we always vigilant and check and recheck and always don't click anything. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Tajul. Yes,
Can I
Miss.
add one point regarding the issue of misinformation? Because I think it's very, very important now, where what I can remember last time, the issue of misinformation actually came from this region, where when the first issues of Facebook and whatnot, but at that particular point of time, this issue was not really popular being discussed, but later when the technology of the internet evolved, coming in with the big data, AI, where the emerging technology actually combined, there are a lot of things that you can do to do this thing that we call operation of influencing people. Information operation, if I'm not mistaken, that was the term, that is the term. But always in cybersecurity or any security management is we will look into the people, process and technology. So to answer your questions, one, in terms of technology, we need to have an appropriate technology to actually have the informations or the situational awareness of the threats that we are facing. That is one. Secondly, we need to have legislations that actually, or circular that actually govern what we are doing, so that what we are doing is something that is right. Thirdly, it's about the people. When we talk about the people, one goes back to the fundamental value of the people actually need to understand this is right, this is wrong. That goes back to the awareness and educations. That is one. And achieving a community or a country that really understand, that have the culture of awareness in cybersecurity is going to take a long time. But we cannot stop. We need to continuously do this. Hence why, as what Mr. Tajul mentioned, NAPSA, with the cooperation from all the relevant stakeholders, we are going to launch our, we call that PIKKS, Pelan Induk Kesedaran Keselamatan Cyber, ataupun Cyber Security Awareness Master Plan, that actually will recognize the people, the stakeholder that have been doing and advocating in terms of cyber safety, and put that as one of master plan that we recognize at the national level. That is on the people side. So in a nutshell, the issues of information operations or influencing people, it goes back to the fundamental and awareness. So one of the things that I can actually tie back is under our national security policy. It's not national cybersecurity policy or Malaysia cybersecurity policy, national security policy under the NSC. One of the things that is being done by NSC itself, which NAPSA is one of it, is doing community-based security management, where National Security Council goes down to the root and go to the public, which does not happen last time, but now we need to go to the people, because we understand protecting our national sovereignty now and future goes back to the citizens. The citizen that recognize this is my national identity, this is what I need to act. So it's not only about cybersecurity, it goes above until our national security policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shafal. Last finalist, please, Colonel Sazali.
Okay. As I mentioned, technology is just a tool. It's a neutral. But I want to add another point. Maybe you want to consider the mind. Okay, we learn there are three dimensions of three traditional dimensions: land, sea, and air. And cyber is a fourth dimension of war or security. Actually, the mind is another dimension of security or dimension of war. Because why? If you can influence the mind and perception of the people, you can influence their decision making. So you don't have to fight. So in war, influencing the mind, and partly it's through diplomacy, to influence the perception, because you can change the decision making process of the people. So that's why the best approach is by attacking the mind. And many war experts and strategists, they have regarded mind as another dimension of war and security. So it depends on if in politics you can use technology to spread propaganda. You know Hosni Mubarak, the former Egyptian president, he was in power for 3 decades, I think. But through social media spreading, he was toppled within 3 weeks. And the people fought not through weapons, they fought through words and through social media. And of course, regardless of misinformation or what, but the power of social media, the power of information, and what is our strategy. And the same thing when the US want to invade Iraq, the influence, the perception of global community with all the misinformation or disinformation about Saddam Hussein. So each change, each influence the decision making of United Nations. They allow, and at the end of the day, they approve the invasion of Iraq. At the end, there is no weapon of mass destruction. So this is how technology can be used as a tool. And sometimes you don't have to go to war, because you can use technology to spread misconception, this information, because you want to influence the perception of the people.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Sazali, as well as all the speakers have gave some inputs when it comes to strategies in tackling such when it comes to cybersecurity. So we will have, due to time constraint, I think we will have to wrap up, and therefore to wrap up, we have covered a lot today. We have covered on in terms of the threats, cybersecurity threats that is currently happening not only in Malaysia but also worldwide, internationally. Also, we have also covered in cyber diplomacy's role in the securing Malaysia's virtual borders. And with that, once again, on behalf of IDFR, I would like to thank all the 3 esteemed panelists who have come and give their inputs today. I believe that all the audience have learned very much, as well as on the information awareness on MCSS. So therefore, thank you very much once again for joining us today. And with that, we will end our session. Thank you so much.